Hello, everyone. I'm Joseph Giarraputo, the founder and editorial director of Global Finance, speaking from New York. I'm joined by Andreas Lutz, CEO of Fides Treasury Services in Zurich. Fides is a leader in centralizing multi-bank connectivity and treasury aggregation. Global Finance just named Fides as the best cross-border payment solution for corporates. Andreas, welcome.
Good morning, Joseph. Good morning to all of you. Very pleasure being here today. And of course, also my big thanks. Thanks not only to you, Joseph, but also, of course, to the audience for nominating, respectively awarding us as the best cross-border payment solution provider of the year.
Okay. All right. Let's get started. What are the biggest challenges facing today's treasury and finance professionals?
Well, I would say cash management, Joseph, it's still a huge challenge for many of our corporates, especially for large multinationals. And, although I don't want to talk much about the pandemic any longer, but, the pandemic made pretty clear in turbulent times, liquidity is vital, if not to say key, to business survival. Businesses that didn't have money in the bank or the visibility into where that money was suffered at best, and of course, as you can imagine, at worst went under. And as geopolitical unrest continues to increase, aside from the lingering uncertainties around COVID, it is more important for Treasury than ever being able to react extremely quickly. But as you may know, Treasury teams are often still quite small compared to the rest of the business. And many are still working with, let's say, older systems or outdated processes, which makes it very difficult for them to be strategic and proactive in these circumstances.
Tell me, how are open banking and APIs changing the banking connectivity landscape?
Despite the rise of APIs, not every bank has an API or, let's say, true open banking abilities yet. From what I actually see in the market, I believe we are still several years out from APIs being the only, or let's say, the most important option for connectivity. If a company, for example, is solely working with one, maybe two large bank, focusing, let's say, on the payment side on wires only, APIs might be the right solution today. But for treasurers in the need of processing larger volumes or have to deal with smaller banks, smaller branches, or even banks in less developed regions, APIs, in my view, are not the right choice. And one has to understand that bank communication still isn't standardized globally. In addition, there is a challenge of safely and securely executing cross-border payments using multiple currencies. And of course, it is important to support APIs, but to not only rely on them as I call it the miracle replacements for all other forms of connectivity.
What do you think is the most important area for corporates to focus on regarding cross border payments?
Well, it's security, and another time security, but of course also compliance, transparency, and of course also reconciliation are definitely key. Compliance is, in today's world especially, top of mind for many corporations or multinationals, as, for example, sanctions against Russia would directly impact any transactions with the country. Not only is it vital to have sanction screening in place, that screening really needs to be up to date, most current, and to meet a variety of the ever changing regulations. And of course, also, last but not least, protect against fraud.
What new developments do you expect in payments in the near term?
That's a very good question, and a question that probably could give you a lot of answers and talk about hours on it. But let's focus on, let's say, developments I currently see really shaking up the treasury industry, such as one, instant payments, then CDBC, so the central bank digital currencies, and last but not least, enriched data services from various service providers. I mean, especially instant payment, or let's call it real time or even near real time payments, will become the new normal, particularly in the many countries which are live with real time payments already. Corporates and institutions typically are integrating such processes already today when they review, let's say, processes or optimize and implement a treasury management or enterprise resource planning system. But still, cross border payments is a separate challenge, be it on the limited capital market availability or the many different local regulations. And If we talk about CDBCs, as said, the central bank digital currencies are another, as I said, much talked development in the payment space. Actually, more than a half of the central banks have begun exploring the concept of digital currency. But with all of the various projects at hand, it's going to be difficult to see what's really coming up next. And the more central bank currencies we actually going to see, the more it will be kind of like existing fiat currencies, because you will again have the kind of a foreign exchange, but also new challenges will arise, such as how to settle from the one CBDC infrastructure into the global market infrastructure. And last but not least, as said, the third dominant payment trend in my view is that service providers, such also as Fides, will enrich their service offering beyond the information reporting and payments to offer, let's say, the more comprehensive solutions for our clients. And therefore, value-added services such as sanctions, validation, etc., will be one angle, but the overall aim will go far beyond today's business. We will see more and more service providers shifting to become kind of an ecosystem with all its benefits for its clients. Offerings, services from third party, be it from a fintech or of course also our traditional banks, which all of them will then be securely integrated in their existing platform. And I'm really convinced that the beforehand mentioned evolutions are going to provide many great opportunities for corporate treasurers, particularly the one leveraging data. But it has to be done right. And of course, we shouldn't forget also about the risks, which will definitely emerge, such as fraud, etc. And therefore, it is of utmost importance also to choose your partner wisely.
Andreas, that was very interesting. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Joseph. My pleasure.